Well, if God is wonderful to you, come on, stand on your feet and let him know how wonderful he is. If he's wonderful to you, without anybody having to tell you what to say or what to do, if God is wonderful to you, let him know how wonderful he is. If he means more to you than anything else, you know you can't make it without him, live without him, do without him. Stretch out your hand. You're wonderful. Somebody ought to open up your mouth and thank him for being wonderful to you. Lights on, he's wonderful. Gas on, he's wonderful. Come on, open up your mouth. Didn't let you catch COVID, he's wonderful. And if you had it, you survived it, others died. He's wonderful. Made it through the surgery, not because of the skilled surgeon. It's because God made a decision not to let you die. Somebody ought to open up your mouth and thank him for being wonderful. You got health issues that the doctor can't cure, but you ain't dead yet. He's wonderful. Those of you in social media, just type it on the screen. He is wonderful. Clap your hands and give God glory. First Chronicles chapter 17. Commence reading with verse 19. O Lord, for thy servant's sake, and according to thine own heart, hast thou done all this greatness, in making known all these great things. O Lord, there is none like thee, neither is there any God beside thee, according to all that we have heard with our ears. And what one nation in the earth is like thy people Israel, whom God went to redeem to be his own people, to make thee a name of greatness and terribleness, by driving out nations from before thy people, whom thou hast redeemed out of Egypt. For thy people Israel didst thou make thine own people forever, and thou, Lord, becamest their God. Therefore now, Lord, let the thing that thou hast spoken concerning thy servant and concerning his house be established forever, and do as thou hast said. Let it even be established that thy name may be magnified forever, saying, the Lord of hosts is the God of Israel, even a God to Israel. And let the house of David thy servant be established before thee. For thou, O my God, as thou hast told thy servant that thou wilt build him a house, therefore thy servant hath found in his heart to pray before thee. And now, Lord, thou art God, and hast promised this goodness unto thy servant. Now, therefore, let it please thee to bless the house of thy servant, that it may be before thee forever. For thou blessed, O Lord, and it shall be blessed forever. Thank you. You may be seated. For a few minutes, I just want to talk about Lord, let it be. There are a lot of things about God that we don't understand. But every now and then, God gives confirmation. And he will allow you to find some certainty in the midst of uncertainty. It is strategic how God moves in the lives of individuals. You remember, as I said to you last week, David found a prophet. He began to speak with the prophet Nathan and said unto him that I believe that I'm going to build God a house. Nathan speaks back to him and said, go and do everything that's in your heart to do. But then God spoke up and said, Nathan, go tell David that that's not his assignment. And in the midst of it all, David displays an attitude of gratitude, because God says, even though I'm denying you the building project, he says, I'm going to flip the script and I'm going to build you a dynasty, which is to suggest that, child of God, when God makes a move in your life, you have to learn how to respond and not react. Because sometimes you can react to the moment and miss the miracle that God has for your life. All of us in this room, we have prayed, we have fasted. We've been seeking God for answers to certain situations in our lives. But child of God, every now and then, God will allow the building project to go on without you. But you have to say, God, I'm still going to be blessed by what's built. He didn't say that he could not enter. He just said he wasn't going to build it. And I don't know how you feel about it, but God always makes a part for you in the plan. That when God is doing his best work, if you be still and let God make the decisions, you'll still be blessed in the end. I'm preaching to some people here today that knows what it means for God to be using you all through your life. But sometimes you can be used by God and not realize you're being used by God. And that's why I suggested to you last week, the first point of the message is that there were some reminders of divine elevations, because he had to be reminded that, listen, you forgot where God called you from and to where he called you to. When you were going to be left out, God says, I called you from a lowly shepherd to the king of Israel, which is to have you to understand that, child of God, God will bless you in the midst of family that discount you. And he'll also bless you in the midst of friends that dismiss you. I'm preaching to somebody here that knows what it means in your life to God to reach down in that low place that you're in. And he'll pick you up and he'll put you in the place that he wanted you to be all the time. You ought to be thankful that God came through your pit to pull you up and pull you out. I'll say it again. You ought to be thankful that God came through the pits of your life, through the lowest moments of your life, and God pulled you up and he pulled you out. I'll say it one more time, because obviously you've forgotten some low places that you've been in. I'll say it again. God came through the pit when others left you there to die. Didn't even give you a drink of water to survive the pit. Left you in there to drown. God came through and he pulled you up and he pulled you out. All of us in here, we've had that Joseph moment to where you find yourself in a pit. You find yourself being sold. You find yourself being in the prison, but in the end, it was all a setup for the throne. You've all had that Moses moment to where God writes a trip ticket that looks like it's going to be independence, but it ends up being incarceration. He leads them to a Red Sea, place where they can't cross, place where they can't climb, place where they can't conquer. But then Moses cried because the children were crying to him, and Moses cried to God, and God said, what are you crying about? God, we're in a place where we can't go forward. He says, I tell you what, use what you got. I'm here to tell somebody, I know the trip looks dark and bleak for you, but God has sent me here today to tell you for a few minutes, just use what you got. And all you got in your spirit right now is, Lord, let it be. You may not have much money in your pocket, may not have many friends you can turn to, may not have family you can lean on, but you got to let it be in your spirit that, God, if this is what you said, then Lord, let it be. I know the sickness, it looks like it's getting worse. I know death looks like it's the end, it's the conclusion of what you're going through, but I came to tell you, don't let that let it be die in your spirit. Because that let it be will carry you through a tough time. That let it be will carry you when tears are in your eyes. That let it be will carry you when you can't sleep at night. That let it be will keep your mind when the devil is trying to kill your joy. Oh, I'm talking to somebody in here that the devil has been trying to close your mouth, because he knows that if the moment you say, Lord, let it be, then God will start working in your behalf. Somebody here today, you need to let it be in your home. You need a Lord, let it be on your job. Somebody here, you need a Lord, let it be in your finances. Somebody need a Lord, let it be in your relationship. I'm preaching to somebody here today that the devil has been trying to rob you of the words, Lord, let it be. Because he knows that when you say, Lord, let it be, that means that I'm letting the Lord have his way. And when God starts moving, I thought I had about 50 friends here today. When God starts moving, anybody here know anything about a movement of God? God starts moving even when God decides to change the plans. He says, listen, I'm going to change the plan, but I still got purpose. He says, listen, don't you worry about the temple being built. I'm going to use your son to do that. You still don't know when to give God praise, because sometimes God may not use you, but he'll use somebody closest to you. That's why you need to teach all of your family. I've been saying this on the prayer line these past couple of weeks, that everybody needs to be familiar with hearing the voice of God. Because you never know when your assignment is going to come. You never know who God is going to use. And when you know God is still blessing the whole family, then nobody has a right to sit up and be jealous. Because I'm going to praise you, because if you get blessed, then I'm going to get blessed. If the Lord helps you, if I'm close enough to you, I'm going to feel the hand of God as well. If God is elevating you, then God is going to elevate me as well. But I can't get upset at the plan of God, because you need to know that the purpose of God will come around. He just read, he was in Romans 8 today, but Romans 8 and 28 says, and we know. I'll be through